So here's the little penguin that I've done. It's taken from the pattern that Debbie had that I've sent to everyone on WhatsApp. So I'm going to show you how I made this one, but I'm going to use different colours because the blue, the darker blue, doesn't show up very well. First thing we need to do is to create our magic circle. Now I've shown you various ways of doing this. Today I'm going to do a very quick way. I'm just going to literally create a little loop with my finger, put the hook through and pull up a loop, and then using the long end round the hook and chain one. So there's my magic circle, and that's yet another version of how to do the magic circle. Now inside the magic circle we're going to do 6 double crochets. So insert your hook into the circle, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through both loops. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So the short end, we can pull the short end and that will close your magic circle. You don't have to completely close it. Sometimes people like to leave it a little bit open just while they're doing the first few rows. So we're going to count the number of stitches, not counting the one on your hook. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And 6 is the one we need to slip into to join our circle. So you go into number 6, yarn over, pull that loop through and pull it through again. So you've done a slip stitch to join the circle. So that's round 1. Round 2, we're going to start with a chain 1. And we need to double the size of the circle, so we're going to do 2 double crochets into each of the 6 stitches, starting with the very first one that we slip stitched in to join. So insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through. That's our first one. In the same stitch, insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through. So we've got 2. Now that's your starting point. You can put a stitch marker in there if you want to. Sometimes makes it easier to know that you've reached the end of your circle. So got number 1, number 2. So I'm going to put my stitch marker in the first one. Counted that backwards, didn't I really? 1 and 2. And then I'm going to continue with 2 double crochets into each stitch. Now I know I'm putting this on YouTube. I don't really think I get very many other visitors looking at my YouTube channel, but in case I do, I'm talking about UK stitches. So in the USA this would be classed as a single crochet, but in the UK this is a double crochet. And we're doing 2 into every stitch all the way around. So we want to end up with 12 stitches in total. Now the final one. If you're not sure if you're at the final stitch or not, just count them again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. Now take out the stitch marker and we go into that same stitch, our very first double crochet of the round, yarn over, pull through and pull through again. So that's the slip stitch to join the circle. I'm just going to pull the center closed a little bit now. So that's the end of round 2. Round 3, we chain 1. We're going to increase the circle again. So we've now got 12 stitches in the circle. We want to increase that to 18. So the easiest way to do that is to double crochet 1 into the very first stitch, which is where your slip stitch is, and then we'll do 2 in the next stitch. And if we continue in that pattern all the way around, so we'll do 1 in the next stitch, 2 double crochets in the next, 1 in the next, and then 2, and then 1 and 2, and you're going to increase your circle by 6 stitches. So you can see I've got 1 there, 2 there, so I'm doing 1 in the next, and then 2, 1 in the next, and we finish off with 2. So that will give us 18 stitches altogether. So if you go from the end or the beginning, it doesn't make any difference which way you count. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So in the 18th stitch, we're going to slip into there and do our slip stitch to join. So we've got 3 rounds. There's our first round, there's the second round, and we've just finished our 3rd round. So round 4 is another increase. And this is going to increase by 6 stitches again. Start off with a chain 1. And this time we're going to do a double crochet into the first stitch and the next stitch, and then we'll do 2 double crochets. So we've got 1 and 2. Continue in the same way all the way around. So we do a 1 double crochet, then another 1 double crochet, and then 2 double crochets. I'm going to pause the video and I'll catch up with you when we get to the end of this row. So I'm just coming to the end of row 4, and I'm going to do 1 double crochet, another single double crochet, and then the final one is a 2 double crochet in the same stitch. So we've now got 24 stitches in our circle. We're going to slip stitch to join, and round 5 is another increase, and in this one we'll do 1 double crochet, and then another single double crochet, and then a 3rd single double crochet. Into the next stitch we do 2 double crochets. It's 1 and 2. So we've got 1 and then 1 and then 1 and then 2. And you continue in the same way all the way around. So I'm just coming to the end of round 5. We've got 3 single double crochets, so I'm doing 1, 2, 3, and then I'll do 2 into the next stitch, the final stitch. So in round 5 we'll have a total of 30 stitches. So I'm going to go around and just double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Okay, and then we slip stitch to join again. Chain 1, and this is our final increase. In this row we're going to do 1 double crochet into the first 4 stitches and then 2 into the next. So we'll do 1 in the first, 1 in the second, 1 in the third, 1 in the fourth, and then we'll do 2 in the next. And again, you continue in the same way. 1, 1, 1, and 1, and then 2. I'll pause there and I'll catch up with you at the end. So I'm just coming to the end of this round. So I've got 4 double crochets in, 1 in each stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 2 in the final stitch, and that gives me 36 altogether, and slip stitch to join. So that's our increases completed. We're now going to start bringing up the sides of our work. So for round 7, if you lose count of your rows, it's quite easy to find them. We'll start with the center. Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're on row 7. And row 7 is just 1 double crochet into every stitch. So we're not doing any increases. We chain 1 in the same stitch as our slip stitch. We do a double crochet and we just continue that all the way around. So I'll pause the video and I'll catch up with you at the end. So I'm at the end now. I've got 1 more stitch to do to make my 36. So 1 double crochet and then slip stitch to join. And you can see that it's starting to curl in over. So the right side will be that way up. And it's going to start to bring up the sides of our penguin. Now this is where we start to bring in another colour. So the pattern for the next row, which is round 8, is to work in the original colour, the first colour. In my case I'm using pink, so whatever your original colour is. We're going to do 13 double crochets in pink, and then we're going to change to another colour. Now I'm going to use red, again just to make sure that it stands out quite well for you. So we chain 1 as normal, and then in the same stitch we start our double crochets. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now when we get to number 13, I'm just going to show you the best way to change your colour. So the last pink double crochet is number 13. So I'm going to insert my hook as normal and pull up a loop. But before I finish the double crochet, that's where I'm going to join in the new colour. So yarn over with the new colour and pull it through both loops. Now you're never going to get what you would want sometimes is a very perfect join. You're always going to have a little bit of a crossover between the two colours. But this is the best way to look as if you haven't got a join. Our next colour, we're going to do 3 double crochets. So in the very next stitch with your new colour, insert your hook and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through. So you can see that there is a colour change, but it still does define the 2 different stitches. So I'm going to do 3 double crochets in red. That's 1, that's 2, and that's 3. And then we're going to go back to the original colour. Now you can cut it off at this point, but because we've only done a few stitches, I'm just going to bring my yarn across. Now you see I've done my own mistake there because I've finished off my 3rd stitch. Now I don't want to do that. So I'm going to pull out that red and do the stitch once more. So insert into the stitch, pull up a loop, but then use your original colour to finish that double crochet. So we've got 3 stitches in red, and now we're going to do 4 double crochets in pink. So insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now I'll try and remember to do it properly this time. Insert the hook, pull up a loop, but don't finish the stitch off. We're going to go back to our red colour. Now I am just keeping it quite loose at the back so that it doesn't pull. You can cut it at that point and rejoin with a new piece of yarn, but because we've only done a few stitches, I don't think you really need to. We can manage to just pull it through. Just make sure that you don't leave it too tight at the back there. So with our new one, I'm going to do 3 double crochets. So find your next stitch, insert your hook, 1, 2, and on the 3rd one, again we're going to change colour. So we've got pink all the way around to here. We've got 3 red, got 4 pink and 3 red. So I'm going to pick up the pink and finish off this stitch with the pink. And then we'll continue. We started off with 13 in the pink and we're going to finish with 13 in pink. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. And then we'll just slip stitch to join that round. Okay, so there's my red. That's me starting point. That was my end point. Now I am going to cut that off at this point because it can get a little bit fiddly with all the different changes when we go round. Leave a little bit of a tail so we can put a knot in it at the end. Just going to cut that one off. And we're ready to start the next row. So we're starting to build up the shape of our penguin's face. So round 9. Chain 1 as always. So we're going to do 12 double crochets. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now remember, on the last one we don't finish the stitch off completely, so we do 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then 12 we bring in the other colour for the final part of the stitch, and then we continue in the new colour. We're going to do 5 double crochets in the new colour. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we don't finish the final stitch off, so we're going to do number 5 and then bring back our pink colour. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in red. Now this time we're going to do 2 stitches in pink, so it's 1, and then we're not going to finish off the second one. I'm going to bring the red back in to finish that off. So we've got 2 stitches in pink, and then we're going to do 5 in red. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then remember the 5th one we don't finish it off. We start the stitch and then we bring back our original colour to finish off that stitch. And then we're going to finish the rest of the round in pink. So next stitch, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is when it's useful if you want to zoom, to increase the speed of your video to save you having to follow me through every step as we finish the row. And then slip stitch to join. So you can see the idea. We're increasing the size of the red to make the top part of our penguin's eyes. So it's just going to continue in a similar way all the way around. So I'm going to cut off the red yarn, leave a little bit of a tail, and I'll come back and join that up again when we get to the next section. So for this next section, again we chain 1, and we're going to do 12 double crochets in pink. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then when we do number 12 we'll pull up a loop and then join in the new colour. So bringing back the red, and this time we're going to do 12 stitches in red, so we're going to take it all the way across. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you continue into the pink, so that's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Get that yarn out of the way from the previous row. 11, and then we start number 12, and we're going to bring the pink back in again. Now this time with the pink, be careful that you don't make it too tight at the back there. You can cut it off and start again, or you can just try and bring them together. And then we've got the final part of this row, which is 12 double crochets in pink. So I'm going to pause it here, and what you're going to do is you're going to continue. Once we get to the end, you're going to do exactly the same thing for row 11, 12 and 13. So you're going to continue with exactly the same colours, 12 in pink, 12 in red, and then 12 in pink to finish it for another 3 rows, and I'll catch you at the end. So I'm now at the end of row 13, and from here we're going to start bringing the colours in a little bit. So the red of the face is going to come in slightly. So I'll finish row 13 with 1 double crochet, slip stitch in to join the row, and then I'm going to cut off the red from the previous row, and start row 14. So chain 1 as always, and then this time we're going to double crochet 13. So the previous row we did 12, we're going to do 13. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Why do I always say 9 like that instead of 9? Don't know why I do that. 10, 11, 12, and then we're not going to finish this 13. We're going to go in and pull up a loop and then change colour. We'll bring the red in again, yarn over and pull through. So that's our colour change. And now we're going to do 10 in red. So we've got 1, 2, and don't worry about this loose little bit here, because we'll be pulling that in when we join everything together, when we tie everything off at the end. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then we start number 10 and bring in our pink again. And then we'll do 13 in pink. And we've got lots of yarn stuck inside here, so it does get in the way a little bit. 5, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 and 13. Slip stitch to join, and then so that was round 14, and then you're going to do 15 and 16 in exactly the same way. 13 double crochets in pink, 10 in red, 13 in pink, and I'll meet you at the end of row 16. So I'm now at the end of row 16. I'm just going to do a slip stitch to join. So we've finished the top part of our penguin, and we're now on to start decreasing to create the rounded bottom part. So to do a decrease, we do, in this example, we're going to do what's called an invisible decrease. And we decrease gradually, the same as we did our increases. So I'm going to start with chain 1, and then in the same stitch where we joined our row together, we're going to do our first double crochet, and this decrease is going to involve doing 4 double crochets. So 1, 2, 3 and 4, and then we decrease. Now the decrease is worked in the back loop of the stitch in this case. So there's your normal stitch. You've got the 2 loops of the V. Now the one that's facing you, the loop that's facing you, is known as the front loop, and the loop that's away from you is known as the back loop. So for this example, it's a back loop decrease. So we go into the back loop only, pull up a loop. Before finishing the stitch off, we go into the next stitch, back loop only, and pull up a loop. So we've now got 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull through all 3. And what we've done there is we've created 1 stitch by joining the other 2 stitches together. So that's a decrease. So it was 4 double crochets and then a decrease. So we're going to continue with another 4 double crochets. 1, 2, 3 and 4, and then we'll do a decrease. So back loop only, insert the hook, pull up a loop, go into the next stitch, insert the hook, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through all 3. So for the pink section, we've created 2 invisible decreases. We've got 1 stitch left in pink. So we're going to go into that stitch, pull up a loop, join our new colour, ready to start the red section. So in the red section, we're going to create a normal double crochet. So insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through. We'll do 3 of those. So 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to do the invisible decrease. We're using slightly different numbers just so that we've got an even decrease across this colour. So we go into the back loop only, pull up a loop, back loop again, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through all 3. We'll do another 3 double crochets, 1, 2 and 3. We're going to go into the back loop only, pull up a loop, back loop only, pull up a loop. Now because we're at the end of the pink section, the red section, we're starting with the pink, we need to bring in our pink at this point to finish the stitch. And then we're going to continue in pink. Oops, I'm going to get rid of that red out the way a little bit. So we'll do 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, 3 double crochet, and 4. And then we're going to do an invisible decrease, back loop only, pull up a loop, back loop only, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through all 3. We've got another 4 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, an invisible decrease, back loop only, pull up a loop, back loop only, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through all 3, and we've got 1 stitch left, which is a standard double crochet. So that's our first row of decreases. I'm going to cut off the tail again. I'm going to find my scissors. I've got another pair of scissors here. And we'll move on to row 18. So we're going to continue in a similar way. We're going to do the invisible decreases. So I'm going to join my rows with a row with a slip stitch, chain 1, and this time we'll do 3 double crochets. So we've got 1, 2, and 3, and then a decrease. Back loop only, pull up a loop, back loop only, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through all 3. Repeat that. So we've got 3 double crochets, 1, 2, trying to hide that loop that's popping up, that colour that's popping up, 3 double crochets, and then a decrease, we've got 1 double crochet left, and this is our change of colour as well. So we'll start the double crochet and then bring in our red to finish that stitch. I'll try and tuck that out of the way. I know it doesn't look very tidy to start with, but it will look tidier once we tie these off and pull them in a little bit. So for our next colour, we're going to do 2 double crochets. That's 1, and this looks like a big hole, but we've got the end of the previous yarn and we'll be able to pull that in and tighten it up later. So 1 and 2, and then an invisible decrease, another 2 double crochets. Now be careful when you're doing this that you don't go into the stitch from your invisible decrease. It's the next stitch along. So 1 and 2, and then the invisible decrease, which includes the colour change as well. So we bring back our pink colour, yarn over and pull through all 3. So now we've got 3 double crochets, 1, 2, and 3, and then a decrease, back loop only. We'll do another 3 double crochets, 1, 2, and 3, and a decrease, and we'll finish off with 1 double crochet, and we'll slip stitch to join. Okay, now that's the end of using the red colour, so I'm going to snip that off now so that it's not constantly in the way. I'll tuck those in so it's going to look a little bit easier when we see the outside. In reality, at this point, I would suggest that you turn your work inside out and you just knot all of these ends together so that it tidies up all of the edges of your colour change. So you can just put a little knot in it. You don't even need to tie these off to cut these off very much, because we're going to stuff the penguin and this will hide all of your edges, but you can cut them off as well. So just put a few knots in them to tidy them up. And then it'll look a lot tidier than mine does. But we'll just tuck mine in for now so that I can finish off showing you how we'll carry on from here. Now you'll also be stuffing the penguin. You don't need to do it at this point, because once you start to put the stuffing in, it gets a little bit harder to do your stitches. But when you're ready, put some stuffing in. So we're going to continue with just the one colour now, and we're going to carry on decreasing. So row 19, chain 1, we're going to do 2 double crochets, so in the same space of our join. We'll start there, 1 and 2, and then an invisible decrease. Back loop only, pull up a loop, back loop only, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through. And we're going to continue exactly the same way all the way around. 2 double crochets, and then an invisible decrease, two double crochets, invisible decrease. Now if you know what you're doing, you don't need to follow me all the way through here. You can whiz through to the next step. But just because the decreases and the colours sometimes looks a bit strange, if you want to follow on, that's fine. We'll do another 2 double crochets and then a decrease. And even though it's 2 different colours here, we'll still do exactly the same thing for our decrease. You will find as well, because the decrease tends to make a looser stitch at the top, you'll find some of your stitches look quite big and some a bit tighter. But don't worry about that, because once it's all done, it looks a lot neater. 2 double crochets and then an invisible decrease. Another 2 double crochets and an invisible decrease. I know it's a strange expression, an invisible decrease. It just stops you getting a bit of a lump on the front by going into the back loop only. So that's why they call it an invisible decrease. So we're back at the beginning. So I'm going to slip stitch into the end of my row. So that's number 19. And again, at this point, I would start to stuff the animal, and if you haven't already, tie off the ends and cut them if you want to. But I'm going to go straight on to round 20. So chain 1 as always. This time we'll do 1 double crochet and then a decrease. So 1 double crochet, then our decrease, 1 double crochet and our decrease, and we'll continue all the way around like that. So I'll meet you at the other end. So I've got to the end of that row, and you can see that the hole at the bottom is getting smaller and smaller. So if you haven't already, you're going to be a bit struggling a little bit to stuff your animal now. So make sure you've done your stuffing before that last row. When you push your stuffing in, push it out to the sides to try and get a nice shape. This one ends up with a slightly sort of flat head. So tuck your stuffing around the edges. And then for the very last round, it's quite fiddly this, because there's not an awful lot of room to get at. you're going to do decreases all the way. So we start off with our normal chain 1, and then we're going to find the back loop only, pull up a loop, and then the next stitch, back loop only, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through. Try and make it as tight as, well, not too tight, not ridiculously tight, but it is going to look a little bit holy, this bit, when you do it. So we're going to go around 6 times doing the invisible decrease. So that's my 3rd one. Now I have to admit I haven't tidied up my inside stitches very well, so they don't look very good from the outside, but that's just because I've been a bit lazy while I've been showing you this. And got the 4th one. You see how it gets very tight in this last little bit. And then we've got our 5th one. I might have miscounted there. I think that might be my 6th one. Yes, I think I have. And then all you would do, I'm going to take mine out and do it again because it's not very tidy, but at this point I would cut off the yarn and then just weave in and out of the little hole that's left, pull your yarn tight and then tuck in your ends. So the best way when you're weaving things in is to go back and forwards at least 3 times, and then you can just take your yarn straight into the middle of the work, pull it out one side and cut it off. So as I said, mine's not as tidy as it would be normally because I haven't tidied up all my edges, but we've got the basic shape of our, there's my better one, the one I did earlier. It's a little bit nicer, isn't it? So the eyes were just pieces of black yarn, and the best way to do the eyes, although a circle you'd think is ideal, it's not as easy to do a circle when you're in and out of the yarn. So what I tend to do is more of a triangle shape and fill it in, just in and out with the yarn. And then I've got a little bit of thread here for the little nose. Now the wings and the feet are done in exactly the same way. So you do just 4 in the 2 different colours, but exactly the same stitch. So I'll show you how to do those next. It doesn't look very good in pink and red, I don't think, especially when I haven't tidied it up very well, but I'm quite happy with the blue one. I think that looks nice. So I'll be back shortly and we'll do the little wings and feet. So we're back to do the wings and the feet for our little penguin. And to do them, they're all exactly the same. We start with a magic circle. Now I know it's really fiddly sometimes doing a magic circle, and I've showed you the way I normally do it, which is to wrap my yarn over my fingers and pull it through. I'm just going to show you another one while we're doing this because you might just find this easier. It is a lot easier really, it's just whichever way works for you. So just create a loop, put your yarn through the loop and pull up a loop, and then to finish it off make a chain, and there's your magic circle. So when I pull this end, see how it just pulls it closed. So I'm going to do that again. Some of you might find this a little bit easier. So I've got the short end in my left hand, the long end in my right hand, and I'm just bringing it around towards me to create a little loop. Hold where the 2 pieces cross and let the long end fall down at the back, and insert your hook into the hole, pull that loop up, but before you do anything else make sure you chain 1 and that just keeps your loop in place. There you go, you've got your loop there. And we're going to work into the middle of that loop. So in the loop, we're going to do 1 double crochet, and then we're going to do a half treble. Now a treble means that you put the yarn over before you go into your stitch. In our case, go into the center of the loop, the magic circle. So yarn over, insert into the magic circle and pull up a loop. So you've got 3 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and you're going to pull through all 3 loops, and that's a half treble. We're going to do 2 of those. So yarn over first, then go into the middle of the magic circle and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through all 3. And the next stitch is a full treble. So that was a half treble. This time we're going to do a treble. So again, you yarn over first, insert your hook into the center of the magic circle and pull up a loop. And this time we yarn over and we pull through 2 loops on the hook. And we're left with 2 loops on the hook. We yarn over again and we pull through the 2 remaining loops. We're going to do 3 of those. So yarn over, insert into the center of the magic ring, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over and pull through the remaining 2. And that's the treble stitch. So 1 more, yarn over into the magic circle, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. What we end up with is stitches that grow in height. So our first stitch, the double crochet, is the sort of shortest stitch. The half treble is slightly taller, and then the full treble is taller again. So it's creating a little bit of a point. Now we finish this off by going down the other side. So we're going to do a half treble. So yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop. Now a half treble, remember, you yarn over and you pull through all 3. Yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through all 3. So that's with 2 half trebles, and we're going to finish with 1 double crochet. Pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through. So you see how it's made a little sort of pyramid shape. So it's going up and down. And if we pull our short end, we can close that magic circle. I'm going to take my hook out just for a second to show you. So you've got a sort of lopsided circle, haven't you? Because we've got the hole at the bottom, and then it creates this slightly lopsided as the stitches grow. So the idea is, when we join that together, we sew it to the body from there. So you've got that slightly extended bit that comes out. So that creates your wing or your foot of the penguin. So we'll finish it off by doing the usual slip stitch to close the circle. So slip stitch into our first stitch, which was a double crochet, pull the yarn all the way through, and then we cut that off. Oops. And just pull the yarn straight through. So that will close that end. And then if we pull on this, what was the short end, to close the hole, we end up with a little wing or our foot, just slightly offset. And then you just use the yarn that you've got left to sew it onto the body. You don't need to use both ends. We can just tie those together and cut one of them off and then use the other one to tie onto the body of your penguin. So you just make 4 of those. Just says just dead easy, isn't it? So the idea is where this sort of dip is for the penguin's eyes, if you carry on where the bottom of the dip is, where I've put the nose in, and just sort of line up with that end, that's the idea of putting the wing. So you've got your nose in the middle, the eyes on each side, and the wings are just about on level with the eyes. And the feet, they just go right at the bottom, one on either side. Again, you can just put them in line with the colour of the bottom of your penguin. So I hope you enjoy trying that. See you soon. Bye bye.